Are you over 60, unemployed, or do you have a job and you're looking to find a new one? Well, in today's show, I'll be sharing 6 workplace trends that I think you should pay attention to as you begin to navigate the world of work. Hi, I'm Bibreen Samuels, and welcome to the Smart Years. Here, I help baby boomers who want to reinvent, thrive, and live well into their third act of life. So, back in December 2023, Fast Company, the entrepreneurial magazine, published a series of articles about the contemporary workplace. And they highlighted the first of the trends, which is about emotional intelligence. Now, this is a phrase that we've become very familiar with over the last at least 5, 10 years. But what does it actually mean in reality? Well, it's your ability, our ability to read the emotions, feelings, and intentions of people around us. And obviously, with the world of work, we're looking at colleagues. But you might be thinking, well, how do I begin to do that? The first thing that you should pay attention to is your level of self awareness, meaning, what is it that makes you tick in terms of your thoughts, your feelings, and your behaviors? Once you've got a handle on that, the question that you should actually ask yourself is, what's my self perception? Now, just be really candid with yourself. You don't necessarily have to share it with other people, but you do need to be raw and real with yourself in terms of your self perception. And then the second question is to go and think about, what's other people's perception of me? Now, you may go and ask them. If there's an alignment in a positive way between the vision and perception you have of yourself and with what others think of you, then that's fine, because you're on the right track in terms of understanding your sense of self, self awareness, and emotional intelligence. However, if on the other hand, there's a disconnect, there's a divergence between the image or the vision you have of yourself, your sense of self awareness and emotional intelligence, and what others are thinking of you, then it's your responsibility to bridge the gap between where you currently are as to where it is that you want to be. Now, emotional intelligence is really important because Gartner, the research company, back in 2017, identified, they did this survey, and 67% of organizations recognize that their world of work is driven by the process of collaboration. And with collaboration, obviously, that involves other people. And it's about your ability to do the emotional intelligence, reading the room. What do other people think? How are they feeling? And what can help you dive even further into this is understanding subtext, what isn't being shared, which can give you a sense of what are the unspoken intentions. All of this taken together, because the way that jobs and opportunities are found nowadays, and this has been an emerging trend at least over the last decade, is that they come through our networks, the groupings that we are part and parcel of. Now, 70% of vacancies are not advertised, which means that they show up in these networks that we have. And so 80% of that 70%, really, they are the ones who fulfill and are employed in these positions. So, if you can anchor yourself in the world of emotional intelligence and gather information, whether you're in the world of work or not, but just in terms of the casual conversations that you have with people, and picking up and recognizing what is it that makes them tick. And it's not so much just about the hard skills. They're really, skilled and they've got talents in these particular areas, but it is more about the soft skills. What's your kind of communication like? That's what you need to be paying attention to. So the second one that you should be paying attention to is polyworking. Now, this trend really did emerge, particularly from lockdown. So here it is, whereby jobs, these types of jobs, i.e. polyworking, meaning that you have two jobs, two full-time jobs, and you might be thinking, well, that's at least 70 hours. How am I meant to do that? Well, this really, you can do this in the world when you're dealing with remote work. Now, you've got to be clear about this because in the world of remote work, what you're looking for is a role that gives you a certain level of autonomy. If you've got autonomy in your job, but also you're very clear about the outcomes that are expected and you've got the skills to do it, you may find that it doesn't actually take you 35 hours per week to fulfill on your job obligations. But actually, it might be the case that you can do it all in 20 hours, which means that you've got surplus hours, hence why you might be able to do this second job. And this is the idea of polyworking. But the two things you must be aware of is how much autonomy and control do you have in your day-to-day work, and do you have the skills in which to do them? So that's the second one, polyworking. The third one is biophilia. Post-lockdown, there was, and I think to a certain extent there still is, a resistance to going back into physical offices, the cold cubicles. And biophilia is where companies are making investments in their physical environments to bring in more nature, whereby there's more light. The windows, there's the curtains are removed or the blinds are removed, so you've got more natural light. You've also got a sense of greenery within the office. There might be a fountain. What we all recognize was the need to be connected to nature, particularly as we all went through the pandemic years, and that has stayed with us because it aids our well-being. So when you're looking for work and you're kind of exploring companies and organizations, what type of physical environments are the offices? Because you might be somebody who really does need more natural light or being surrounded by the elements of nature. And this is very important when it comes to your job search. And as I said, this really has become more apparent now that we have moved beyond lockdown and we're in another era of working. The fourth workplace trend is about investment. Now, the investment from employers, what you want to be doing on your job search is researching to see how much investment are companies making with regards to learning and development. Now, there's an even more pressing need for this given the emergence or explosion, really, of artificial intelligence, because from the workplace perspective, it's going to drive automation, and automation leads to more effectiveness. Now, the tools that we're all becoming or certainly familiar with are, for example, Google Gemini, or you have Microsoft Copilot, and then we have OpenAI's and its ChatGPT that really did launch it at the sort of autumn of 2022. Now, you want to be paying attention to how much investment are companies making, because you want to be upskilled. Now, what's going to help the companies is that once staff teams are upskilled, which means that it drives productivity, but also alleviates those kind of boring, mundane jobs that are attached to certain roles. And the whole idea here is to free you up so that you're no longer trapped in the routine work, but you could be opened up to learning higher value skills like strategic development and planning, or moving more into the people world with regards to team development. So the learning and development and the investment in that. And a skill that you might want to start exploring is prompt engineering. And I think I will do a video on this, but essentially it's the ability to write prompts in a way that's going to generate the best outcome when you're using tools like ChatGPT or Copilot or Gemini. But as I said, I will do a separate video on that one. So learning and development, you want to be upskilled by the company, and it's about looking at the level of investment. Then the fifth one is about what type of environment. Is it a wholesome environment that you could be walking into? Now, we've seen this shift, and particularly driven by millennials and Gen Zs. Now, there's a shift of power. Back in the day, corporations that had, globally recognized icons and logos we're able to easily lure people towards coming to work for them. There will be a salary package that could be seen as competitive and appealing, as well as the fact that it's a multinational company. And that seemed to be the initial hook to get people in. Where there's a reversal of that trend, and actually it's about employees taking back the power. And here, what people are asking for, and whether it's Gen Z at the younger end or baby boomers or the silent generation who are navigating the world of work, it's about looking at the level of intelligence as well as the ethical priorities of companies. We are very much living into the world whereby we are living out our principles and our values, and we want to be aligned with companies or brands that resonate with us in a deep way. And so therefore, it really is companies who have to be pitching harder, I would say, to attract the attention of a global workforce, because we're all being exposed in one form or another to values. People have them, we have principles, and we're living even more so into a politically sensitive environment. And employees, it's like, well, what's the caliber and quality of the leaders of this particular company? Are they tuned in with the global news, global trends? What adjustments are being made? These are really important to people who are currently in the world of work, but also seeking to get into the world of work. So you, as a baby boomer, understand what your values are, what your principles are, and what it is that you would not be attracted to, and what is it that could be very appealing to you. So just recently, over the last couple of weeks or so, I've had conversations with two different people from two various organizations, two different ones. And it was really interesting that what was common for both of these companies was that they were involved, they had contracts in the world of war and defense. And there's a kind of uprising that's taking place within companies, because war and defense, we know, it impacts so negatively on us right around the world. And people are resisting participating in that type of work. They don't want to be assigned to that project. Or if they are, they're finding ways to try and wriggle out of doing that type of work. So if you know that a company is actually or has been awarded contracts that goes against what it is that you stand for, then that's an indication of you shifting and taking and reclaiming your power. So the type of environment is not just how much money you're being paid. Are you being valued? Are the decision makers intelligent, emotionally intelligent, politically intelligent? And that doesn't necessarily mean who they vote for, but is there a level of awareness about what's going on in the world, and how are they leading their workforce on the basis of world news that's shaping all of us? So that's the fifth one. And the sixth and final one is really about the gig economy and flexible working. So, as baby boomers, we've lived at least 6+ decades. And with that, we have a portfolio of skills, insights, knowledge. And the way that I'd like to encourage you to think about all of that as you're either trying to get back into the world of work or leaving the current job that you have and moving into another, is looking at yourself as a problem solver. How can you troubleshoot and solve this particular company organization's problem? That's what's being called for. That's what's being required, because there are so many converging issues that's shaping the world of work. No longer should people be hiding behind job titles, for example, and just thinking that's enough. Actually, comb through your skills. Think about what it is that you know. Think about the types of companies that you would like to work for. Identify some of the challenges that they are facing. And as you're prepping and planning through your job search, think of yourself as a solution provider. You know that they're facing this particular challenge. They have some key indicators around it. How could you be a solution to that? So the gig economy is really big, together with the fact for companies, they don't want the long-term cost associated with recruitment. So it's, if you're skilled, you're a problem solver, then you're going to be very valuable to that company because you can actually satisfy their need and then get paid well. The other side of that is around flexible working. We're living through the reality of having 5 generations in the world of work. So if we just look across the pond to the White House, we've got Joe Biden, he's 80. He's actually part of the silent generation. So we have the silent generation, we have baby boomers, we have Gen X, we have millennials, and Gen Z. So we are living in the reality of 5 generations in the world of work that have very different skills and needs. Now, as a baby boomer, you might be experiencing this sandwich life. What I mean by this is that you still need to work, you can't afford to retire. You may have responsibility for caring for your aging parents, but then also you might have responsibility to take care of your grandchildren. And so you're looking for an environment that can accommodate the flexibility of what both of those roles require, together with satisfying your own needs around, well, what is it that I really want from this particular company? Here's what I can contribute. I can get paid, but I can also have flexibility in terms of taking